This video is meant to be a quick review of finding area of different figures, similar to what we did in 6th grade. So feel free to use the video as much or as little as you need to. If you remember how to find the area of certain ones, feel free to try them on your own. Skip ahead, check your answers, that kind of stuff. If there are ones you're a little rusty at or need some review on, watch the video, see me work my way through them, and use it as much or as little as you need to. But you should be confident in all of these shapes before you are done. So first, a couple of vocabulary pieces for us. First is perimeter. It's the distance around the outside of a shape. So think of pacing our way around. You're adding all the sides together. Okay. Area is the amount of space inside of a shape. So it's how much can you fill inside the shape. So this one's going to use multiplication to find our answer, because we're finding out a lot of times is length times width and that kind of stuff. Quick review of our formulas to find the area of a rectangle. Area is going to be equal to base times height. Remember, the height always meets the base at a right angle. So a lot of times we're going to look for that right angle symbol drawn in for our height. For a parallelogram, same as a rectangle, it's going to be base times height, but you're going to be extra careful to make sure you really do find the height, not just one of the sides. And then for a triangle, if you remember, a triangle is half of a rectangle, so it's base times height divided by 2, or sometimes you'll see it as 1/2 base times height, because multiplying times 1/2 is the same thing as finding half of something. So those are our formulas. Let's see which ones you remember how to use. So for each of these down here, you're going to do two things. You're going to find the perimeter and the area. So for a rectangle, this one should be easy. This edge here is 4 units long. This one here is 3 units long. So this one is 4 and this one is 3. For perimeter, you just add them up. 4 plus 3 plus 4 plus 3. That's going to give me a total of 14. And since they don't tell us the units, we just use the generic word units. For area, we're going to multiply base times height, because they meet at a right angle. So 4 times 3 is 12. But remember, anytime we're dealing with area, it's always units squared, because I multiplied 2 units together. This one is our parallelogram. Think of it as kind of like a rectangle, but it's kind of leaning over. To find the perimeter, we want to add up all the sides. So 3 and 3. And then my slanted edge is 6.8. So this one is 6.8. So I just add them all up. 6.8 plus 6.8 plus 3 plus 3. 16, 13, 16, so I get 19.6, and you can use a calculator for it. And our units are centimeters, so it stays centimeters. Here's where you got to be a little bit more careful. When you're finding area, remember it's base times height. So area is equal to base times height. But remember that height has to be at a right angle to the base. So my base is going to be 3, but my height is not the 6.8 because it doesn't meet at a right angle. I want to find this measurement here. That's going to be my height because it goes straight up from the base. So to find my area, I'm going to do 3 times 6. So I have an area of 18. I'm dealing in centimeters, so it's going to be centimeters squared because I did centimeters times centimeters, or centimeters to the second power. Bottom one down here, gotta scroll down just a little bit. Again, be careful with triangles. First, find the perimeter, so we're going to add up the 3 sides. So 26 plus 26 plus 32. So you're just adding together all the sides. I get 14 and 8, so I get 84 feet. For area, remember our formula for a triangle. Base times height, but then we kick in the divided by 2. Because we don't want the whole rectangle would have been base times height. I just want the triangle, which is half. So here is where you have to be careful. The base is usually pretty easy. More often than not, it's going to be the flat bottom edge that the shape sits on. So I'm going to do 32. But the height, remember, always look for that right angle symbol. My height is going to be the 12, how tall the shape is. Straight up from the base to the opposite side. And then I got to kick in the divided by 2. So for this one, I'll break out my calculator. 32 times 12 divided by 2 gives me an answer of 192. It's area, so it's always going to be feet squared. So base times height, but then I throw in that divided by 2. 2 and triangle both start with T, so it reminds me that I have to divide by 2. Next is the trapezoid. This is probably the one you're least likely to remember the formula for, just because it's a little strange. Remember, in a trapezoid, the two opposite sides, we call them bases, are different lengths. They're not the same, so we can't just take one base and multiply it together. So to find the area of a trapezoid, we do base 1 plus base 2. So we're going to add the two bases together. Then we're going to multiply times our height, but then we're going to throw in a divided by 2. Basically, we're finding the average between the two bases. We're kind of splitting the difference and then using that to multiply times our height. So let's see that in action here. Here's my base 1 and base 2. So I'm going to add them together. 6 plus 12. Remember, the height is always at that right angle. So my height is going to be 7. And then I want to divide by 2. So make sure you do your addition part first, or put it in parentheses in your calculator. But I multiply it all out, and my area is equal to 63. I'm dealing in inches, so it's inches squared. Area is always squared. It's how many squares fit inside of the shape. Next one, you're going to see a lot of measurements, so you got to know what you're looking for. Your two bases are the two sides that are parallel to each other. So we can call this one base 1 and this one base 2. And it doesn't matter which one is base 1 and base 2. Your height is always the one that's at that right angle to our base. So this is going to be my height. So I'm going to do 28 plus 56. Add my two bases. Multiply times my height. And then divide by 2. So plug it in my calculator. 28 plus 56 is 84 times 19 divided by 2. And I get 798. I'm dealing in inches, so inches squared. Base 1 plus base 2. Add the two bases together. Multiply times your height. And then divide by 2. So here's where we're putting this all together. 6th grade was the basic shapes. Now we're going to get to the more complicated ones. So these are our composite figures. And the key to a composite figure is break it into shapes that you know how to find the area of. So break it into pieces you know. So for this one here, I would slice it right here. I've got a rectangle and a triangle. So for shape 1, it's got a base of 10, a height of 6. So I'm going to do 10 times 6. And that gives me 60 meters squared. For the triangle, I'm going to redraw it this way. Here's my height of 7 meters. But my base, this edge, is this flat bottom edge. It's the same as this one over here. So this one is 6 meters. Remember, for the area of a triangle, we do base times height, but we divide by 2. 6 times 7 is 42, divided by 2 is 21 meters squared. And then when you're done, you take your two pieces and add them back together. So I would get 81 meters squared. Over here, the natural idea for me to break this one up is simply to slice straight across like this. Shape 1 is a rectangle. Shape 2 is a trapezoid. You'll notice two parallel sides, but the two other sides are not parallel to each other. So shape 1 is just a rectangle. My base is 18. My height is 5. So 18 times 5 is equal to 90. In this case is miles squared. For 2, this is where you have to use your trapezoid formula. Now we're going to do base 1 plus base 2. So 12 plus 18. Now I got to go find the height. So this little piece here is 5. The whole thing is 8. So what does that leave this little piece to be? Well, 5 plus 3 would give me a total of 8. So my height is 3, and then don't forget to divide by 2. Remember, triangle, trapezoid, and 2 all start with T, and the shapes that start with a T we have to divide by 2. 12 plus 18 is 30, times 3 is 90, divided by 2 is 45 miles squared. And then you add your two pieces together. 90 plus 45 is 135 miles squared. So the whole idea is break it into pieces that you know, find those areas, and then put the pieces back together. So last one, you're welcome to try this one on your own or to work on it with me. Here's where I would break it up, is I would slice this triangle off the top and find it as a big rectangle and then a smaller triangle. So I'm going to call this shape 1 and this one shape 2. For shape 1, my base is 20, my height is 6, top to bottom of just that shape. So 20 times 6 is 120. We're dealing in meters, so meters squared. Shape 2 is going to be a little bit harder. So first I got to find my base. Well, this piece is 8. This piece is 6, but the whole thing is 20. So think about what would I have to add to 8 and 6 to get to 20. In this case, I would need another 6 meters. 8 plus 6 plus 6 gives me 20. So I have a base of 6. Now I need my height. I'm going to clear out some of my markings here for us. I know this whole distance is 10. I know just from here to here is 6, because they tell me that's the height right over here. So I just need to know this height from here to here, this short piece. Well, 6 plus 4 gives me the total of 10. So I have a height of 4. And because it's a triangle, I have to remember to divide by 2. 6 times 4 is 24, divided by 2 is 12 meters squared. And then I finish out by adding them together. 120 plus 12 is 132 meters squared.